Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumful Reads, and in this video, we're going to be doing a quick history book review of Joan of Arc, A History by Helen Castor. And I picked up this book, one, because it was shiny, and that was a challenge, basically, for one of the, I think, challenges in the Newts Readathon. I didn't get to it then, but I also picked it up, obviously, because it's about Joan of Arc, and I honestly didn't know too much about her before reading this book, or I guess the particulars of this event and her life basically in history. So that's obviously why I picked it up, so I could learn more about it. However, this book was really dry. And when I say something is really dry, that usually means it's incredibly dry, to be honest. There's a lot of information, but like I said, there's just so many proper names, like on every page, just like getting thrown about, just especially in the first half of the book, before you know who they are and they keep recurring. It's just like all the time, and it's just a little bit too much, I guess. The One of the things I don't really like about the book either is it takes too long setting up the context. And she does come out and say basically that's what she wants to do. Is kind of set up the context, put Joan of Arc, put her life in it, and then put kind of an epilogue, more context, so you kind of see like the before and after, I guess, of Joan of Arc's life. However, I think about the first third of the book is before Joan's even born or shows up on the scene, basically. So I thought that was kind of a little bit too much. There are some other histories that I've read that I didn't quite like that. I think like the first Clash, where like about a third of the book is just setting up, that's about the Battle of Marathon, and like the first third is like the whole history of like the Persian Empire or something before Marathon. So I don't like history books. I like it when they do set up the context or the setting, basically the backdrop. I don't like it when they spend too much time on the backdrop though, because it basically takes away from the actual point of the story. So basically what we're learning about is basically the political intrigue of the two French kind of competing royalist houses, basically, after the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. And that's basically the quarter or third of the book. So that was kind of a lot. The epilogue, I felt, was a much better, it was only 2 chapters, so it was definitely a better, basically setting the after context. That was done pretty well, I think. And then about half the book is basically the history of Joan of Arc. I did learn a lot, which is definitely good, but like I said, it was pretty dry. She does use some pretty good sources, however, they are not like cited in the actual like pages, which I don't know if that's like a trend with modern history books, to be honest, but I don't like it like at all. There's basically there's notes in the back of the book related to the pages, so I'm not sure how you're supposed to ever know like when to like look something up. I guess you're supposed to just like have your finger like in the notes, and just like after you finish a page, see if there was like a note basically to go with it, if that makes sense. I will say the bibliography looks fantastic for this book. She has both separated primary and secondary sources, which is really good. And they look fairly modern and stuff, which is always a good thing. Sometimes history books also just like cite a bunch of like esoteric stuff from like who knows when, that are like basically impossible to get at. So like I said, her research is really good. And even though it is dry, you definitely learn a lot. I will say, especially during the actual part of the history of Joan of Arc, like the actual events in her life, I will say I didn't think there was quite enough analysis, I guess, and basically just basically what the author thought what this all like meant and stuff like that. It was more just like kind of just like facts, basically. Which some people prefer that. I prefer kind of like a good balance between the two. Basically, why certain things were happening, or why it was important these things were happening instead of something else, or whatever it might be. I just felt there could have been a little bit more analysis. Like at the end, like I said, the end context, the author does do a lot of that analysis sort of stuff in the kind of epilogue context, which I thought was really well done. I just wish like the whole book was sort of in that vein, instead of being kind of the sort of just dry, super narrative, basically, I guess you could say. But like I said, I did learn a lot. Just wasn't my favorite. But I definitely will be using the bibliography to find some more works. I might give Helen Castor another chance to it. I think she's written maybe not quite a few, but several other books And one looked really interesting that I looked up, and it was She-Wolves, which are about like warrior queens of the medieval period. So I might pick that one up and give Helen Castor another chance. And like I said, it really wasn't a bad book. Just wasn't, super enthralling for me. So, take that as you will. But overall, I'm gonna give Joan of Arc a history 3 out of 5 stars. Basically, because like I said, I learned a lot. Probably said a little bit too much context, but you learn a lot. But it was pretty dry, and it was I just personally felt it was kind of a slog to get through. But some people, if you really enjoy basically 15th century medieval France, or you already know quite a bit about Joan of Arc and you want to learn more, this will probably actually be a pretty good book for you. But like I said, overall for me, I'm going to give Joan of Arc 3 out of 5 stars. And whatever you're reading, always remember, read victoriously.